Rain hammered against the kitchen window as Marisol Dane pressed her back to the pantry door, phone clutched in her trembling hand. Down the hall, a child's voice cracked into a sob. "Please, I'll be good. I'll be good." Then the sharp click of heels, the soft, sickening sound of a slap. Marisol closed her eyes, heart racing in her chest. She'd promised herself she would never get involved with these people, with men whose names made grown politicians sweat, with families built on blood money and secrets. But the sobs belonged to Ronan Vescari, 8 years old, small as a sparrow, and the only innocent thing in this mansion of shadows. Marisol raised the phone and called the one number the staff were forbidden to use unless the house was on fire. The call connected on the second ring. This had better be urgent. His voice was low, steady, edged with warning. Marisol swallowed hard. "Mr. Vescari." "It's Marisol." Silence stretched between them like a wire pulled too tight. "Why are you calling me?" Another cry echoed down the hall. Marisol peered around the corner to see Serafina Holt, the new lady of the house, gripping Junie's arm too tightly. The woman had arrived 2 months ago with designer luggage and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. Since then, Junie's laughter had disappeared like it had been stolen. "Sir, please come home now," Marisol whispered. "She'll destroy her." "What did you say?" The sound of a chair scraping back travelled through the phone. "I can't explain over the phone, but if you don't come—" Another cry rang out. Marisol flinched. "You'll be too late." The line went dead. Marisol stared at the screen, heart pounding. Might she just lit a match inside a room full of gasoline? Forcing her legs to move, she stepped into the corridor just as Serafina yanked Junie into the sitting room. The child stumbled onto the rug, landing on her knees. Her red dress looked too bright against the pale carpet, like a warning no one wanted to see. "I didn't mean to spill it," Junie whimpered, eyes wide with tears. A shattered crystal glass glittered on the floor, juice spreading like a bloodstain. Serafina leaned down, voice sweet as poisoned honey. "If you cry, I'll give you something to cry about." "Mum, let me clean it." Marisol stepped forward. "Junie can go to her room." Serafina straightened, eyes narrowing. "Did I ask you?" Marisol felt the power imbalance like a chain around her neck. In this house, Serafina was the fiancée, the future wife. The staff were supposed to obey, but Junie's shoulders were shaking. Marisol took another step forward. "Please, she's just a child." Serafina's smile returned, sharp, satisfied. "Exactly. A child needs discipline. Otherwise, she grows up thinking she can take whatever she wants." Her gaze flicked to Junie, like her mother did. Junie flinched at the mention of her mother, Elena Vescari, dead for 3 years in what the papers called a car accident and what the streets called a warning. "That's enough," Marisol said, her voice steadier than she felt. Serafina's eyes hardened. "Careful, Marisol. People who forget their place get replaced." Marisol's phone buzzed in her pocket, an unknown number. And suddenly she knew. Ronan was closer than anyone realized. Serafina reached for Junie again. Marisol stepped between them. The front door crashed open with enough force to rattle the windows. Heavy footsteps moved through the foyer like approaching thunder. The sitting room door swung open. Ronan Vescari filled the frame like a shadow given human form. Tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair damp from the rain, suit jacket unbuttoned, his expression carved from controlled rage. 2 men in black suits stood behind him, scanning the room with cold efficiency. His eyes went straight to Junie on her knees. The air in the room changed, turned electric. "Why is my daughter on the floor?" Ronan's voice was quiet, and that quiet was more frightening than any shout. Serafina recovered fast. "Ronan, darling, she was being difficult. She spilled a drink and—" "Look at me, Serafina." Ronan took 1 step into the room, gaze never leaving his daughter. She did, still smiling. "I was teaching her consequences. Children need structure." Ronan's jaw tightened. Junie's voice shook. "I'm sorry. You never apologize for someone else hurting you." Ronan's eyes softened for half a second, then hardened again as he turned to Serafina. "Ronan, you're overreacting." His gaze slid to Marisol, to her arm red where Serafina had gripped her. "What happened?" he asked. Marisol's mouth went dry. This was the moment. A wrong sentence could get her fired, or worse. But Junie's small hands were clenched like she was holding herself together. "She's been punishing her," Marisol said. "Not discipline, punishment. And today—" "It got worse." Serafina laughed. A bright, brittle sound. "A maid's opinion? Ronan, she's trying to cause trouble because she's jealous." "Jealous of what?" Ronan's eyes didn't move. "Of me." "Of my position." Serafina's cheeks flushed with anger. "She's always been too attached to Junie. It's inappropriate." Ronan crouched in front of Junie, ignoring Serafina completely. He wiped a tear from Junie's cheek with his thumb. "Did she hurt you?" he asked, voice gentle. Junie hesitated. Her gaze flicked to Serafina, fearful. "Junie, no one in this house scares you into silence, not while I'm breathing." "She said you wouldn't believe me," Junie whispered. Ronan stood slowly. The temperature in the room dropped. He looked at Serafina and said, "You were wrong." "Ronan, darling." Ronan raised a hand. One of his men stepped forward, blocking the door. "You have 10 seconds to tell me the truth before I start asking questions my way." "You can't threaten me in your own house," Serafina said, eyes widening. Ronan tilted his head. I can do whatever I want in my own house." "Fine," Serafina snapped. "Yes, I disciplined her, because she's spoiled. She stares at me like I'm an intruder. And, frankly, she is not even—" She stopped, biting her tongue too late. "Not even what?" Ronan's eyes narrowed. Serafina swallowed. "Nothing." Then Junie said the words that shattered everything. "Daddy." "She's been going into Mommy's closet at night." Ronan's eyes snapped to Junie. "What?" "I heard her." Junie hugged herself. "She talks on the phone in there, and she took Mommy's necklace, the one you said was special." Marisol's stomach dropped. Eleanor's closet was locked. The key was kept in Ronan's safe, unless someone had another key. "You've been in Elena's closet?" Ronan turned slowly towards Serafina. Serafina lifted her chin. "I'm your future wife." "This house will be mine too. What's the problem?" "The problem is," Ronan's voice went dangerously low, "that closet is locked." One of Ronan's men disappeared down the hall. When he returned, his face was grim. He held something in his gloved hand, a small brass key. Ronan's key. "How—" Marisol began, but stopped herself. Ronan didn't need to ask. He already knew someone had opened his safe. "That proves nothing," Serafina said, but her composure was cracking. "It proves you crossed a boundary." Ronan stepped toward her. "And you don't cross boundaries in my world without consequences." "Your world?" Serafina's eyes flashed with anger and fear. "Your world is built on lies. You think you're protecting Junie, but you're the reason she has enemies. You're the reason Elena is—" The first shot shattered the window before she could finish. Glass exploded inward. Ronan shoved Junie behind him, his body moving without hesitation. His men drew weapons. Marisol hit the floor, covering her head as glass rained down. Serafina screamed, and in the chaos, she bolted for the hallway. "Don't let her leave," Ronan shouted. But the second shot wasn't aimed at Serafina. It was aimed at Junie. Marisol saw it in a blur, the angle, the flash, the child's red dress. Ronan moved like lightning, twisting his body to shield his daughter. The bullet struck his shoulder, jerking him back. "Daddy!" Junie screamed. Ronan gritted his teeth, still standing. Blood soaked through his white shirt. His men returned fire through the broken window. Outside, tires screeched as a car sped away into the rain. The attackers vanished as quickly as they'd come. Marisol crawled toward Junie, hands shaking. "Are you hurt?" Junie sobbed. "He's bleeding." "I'm fine," Ronan said, his voice rough. But his face was pale. He glanced toward the hallway where Serafina had disappeared. His eyes went cold. "That wasn't a random hit," he said. "That was a message." Marisol helped him to a chair, her hands already searching for a cloth to press against the wound. "A message from who?" she asked, though fear was already giving her the answer. "For Junie." Ronan winced as Marisol pressed a towel against his shoulder. He looked down at his daughter, who was clinging to Marisol's legs. "Serafina brought them." The house went into lockdown. Ronan's men swept every room, securing doors and windows. No sign of Serafina. She must have had an exit plan ready, one of the guards reported. Her closet is half empty. Our passport gone. Marisol cleaned and bandaged Ronan's shoulder in the kitchen while Junie sat close by, refusing to leave her father's side. The bullet went through, Marisol said, but you need a doctor. Later. Ronan's eyes were fixed on his phone. Right now we need to move. This house isn't safe. Junie looked up, her small face pale with fear. Where's Serafina going? To a man named Darius Crane, Ronan said, his voice gentler when speaking to his daughter. Marisol's hands froze. Crane? Ronan's gaze sharpened on her face. You know that name? It wasn't a question. Before Marisol could answer, Ronan's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, then put it on speaker. Hello, Ronan. A woman's voice, smooth as silk. Serafina. Where are you? Ronan's voice was ice. Somewhere safe, Serafina laughed softly. Oh, which is more than I can say for you and your precious daughter. If you think... I don't think, Ronan. I know. The sound of a car engine rumbled in the background. Did you really believe I loved you? That I wanted to be a mother to that brat? I was there for one reason only. Crane sent you, Ronan said. Smart man. Too bad you weren't smart enough to see it sooner. Serafina's voice hardened. Darius wants what Elena stole. He wants what's in that closet. And he's willing to burn your world down to get it. Ronan's eyes met Marisol's across the table. And what about the maid? Serafina continued. Have you asked her yet? About her brother? About why she's really in your house? Marisol felt the blood drain from her face. Tick-tock, Ronan, Serafina said. Crane is coming for what's his. And I think you'll find your loyal staff isn't so loyal after all. The call disconnected. Silence filled the kitchen. Ronan looked at Marisol, his eyes unreadable. What is she talking about? Marisol opened her mouth, but no words came. The truth she'd hidden for years rose to the surface like a drowning person gasping for air. You've seen how high the stakes are now, but this is just the beginning. What happens next will change everything. Comment where you're watching from. Now, let's get into it. Subscribe now and stay with us. You won't want to miss what's coming. Can you walk away now, knowing you've come this far? Silence hung in the kitchen like a weight. Junie looked between her father and Marisol, sensing the shift in the air. Sweetie, Marisol said gently, can you go with Marco for a minute? I need to talk to your dad. Junie clung to Ronan's arm. I want to stay with you. Ronan brushed his daughter's hair back from her face. 5 minutes, then we leave this house together. I promise. Junie nodded reluctantly, allowing one of the guards to lead her to the doorway still within sight. Ronan's eyes never left Marisol's face. Start talking. Marisol's hands trembled as she finished bandaging his shoulder. My brother is Matteo Dane. Matteo Dane is dead. Ronan's voice was flat. That's what everyone was supposed to think. Marisol took a breath. He worked for Darius Crane. When he tried to leave, Crane wouldn't let him. So Matteo stole evidence, records, payments, names, and he disappeared. And you came here to find it? Ronan's gaze turned razor sharp. Marisol flinched. At first, yes, I needed protection. Crane's people were hunting me. Working in your house, under your name, kept me alive. Ronan's jaw tightened. You used me. I didn't expect Junie, Marisol whispered, eyes burning. I didn't expect to care. I didn't expect you to... She stopped herself. To what? Ronan's voice lowered. To be a father who would take a bullet for his child. Marisol met his eyes. Most men in your position would have guards do that. Ronan studied her, searching for lies. Where's the evidence now? I don't know. Matteo never told me. Marisol gripped the edge of the table. He said if I knew I'd be in more danger. Ronan stood suddenly, wincing as the movement pulled at his wound. If you're lying... I'm not, Marisol said quickly. I swear on Junie's life. Something dangerous flickered in Ronan's eyes. Don't. I would never hurt her, Marisol said, arm voice breaking. She's the only good thing in this house. Ronan turned away, but not before Marisol caught a glimpse of the pain in his eyes, not from his shoulder. Daddy, Junie called from the doorway. Are we going now? Ronan composed himself instantly. Yes, sweetheart, just a minute. He turned back to Marisol. Whatever Matteo stole, Crane wants it badly enough to plant Serafina in my house for months, to try to kill my daughter. I know. Marisol took a step closer. Let me help you find it. I know Matteo better than anyone. Why should I trust you? Because I called you, Marisol said simply. When I saw Serafina hurting Junie, I called you, not Crane, not anyone else. Ronan's phone buzzed with an alert. His face hardened as he read the message. What is it? Marisol asked. Cars approaching the gates. At least 3. Ronan grabbed his gun from the table. Crane didn't waste time. He moved to Junie, kneeling despite his injury. Remember our safe word. If I say Sparrow, you go with Marisol. No questions. Junie nodded solemnly. Like when Mummy died, Ronan's expression flickered with grief for just a moment. Exactly. Marisol felt her heart constrict. This man, this supposed monster, had prepared his child for danger without breaking her spirit. Security cameras showed armed men scaling the estate walls. We need Elena's evidence, Ronan said, voice tight with urgency. If Crane wants it this badly, it might be the only thing keeping us alive. It has to be in the house, Marisol said. Matteo wouldn't have hidden it far from me. Ronan turned to his security team. Lock down the east wing. Buy us time. As gunfire erupted outside, Ronan took Marisol's arm. His grip was firm but not painful. If you're playing both sides, he said quietly so Junie couldn't hear, know this. I will protect my daughter at any cost. Anyone who threatens her becomes collateral damage, even you. Marisol met his gaze without flinching. I understand. And she did, because in his eyes she saw a truth no one on the outside would believe. Ronan Vescari, the most feared man in the harbour district, was capable of love so fierce it terrified him. They moved through the house like shadows, Ronan leading with his gun drawn despite his injury, Marisol holding Junie's hand tightly. Why are those men trying to hurt us? Junie whispered. Because they want something that isn't theirs, Ronan answered simply. They reached Elena's bedroom, preserved exactly as she had left it 3 years ago. The closet door stood ajar, evidence of Serafina's intrusion. Stay by the door, Ronan told Marisol and Junie. Watch the hall. Inside the closet, rows of Elena's clothes hung untouched, perfume bottles gathering dust on the vanity. Ronan ran his fingers along the shelves looking for signs of disturbance. Daddy, Junie called softly. Mommy showed me a secret once. Ronan turned. What kind of secret? A hiding place. Junie slipped from Marisol's grasp and entered the closet. She pointed to the floor. Under there. Ronan knelt, probing the hardwood. A small section moved under his touch. How did you know? He asked Junie. Mommy put my drawings there sometimes. She said it was our special place. Ronan pried up the floorboard. Inside the small cavity lay a sealed envelope and a flash drive. As he reached for them, the security alarm blared. They're inside, Marisol gasped. Gunfire erupted downstairs, closer now. Ronan pocketed the evidence and rose quickly. We need to go. Now. They hurried toward the back stairs, but the sound of footsteps forced them to retreat. This way, Ronan urged, guiding them toward his office. There's a passage to the garage. As they reached the office door, a voice called from behind them. Boss, they've breached the west wing. One of Ronan's men ran toward them, face bloodied. Ronan pushed Junie behind him. How many? At least 10. There. A shot rang out. The man fell forward, revealing a figure behind him. A man in a tailored suit stepped into view, gun raised. Hello, Vescari. Ronan's gun was up instantly. Moretti, still doing Crane's dirty work? The man smiled coldly. Some of us know where our loyalty belongs. Marisol edged toward the office door, shielding Junie with her body. The evidence, Moretti demanded. Hand it over. Let them go first, Ronan countered. Moretti laughed. You're not in a position to negotiate. More footsteps approached from both ends of the hall. They were surrounded. Ronan's eyes met Marisol's for just a second. Sparrow, he said quietly. Marisol's heart lurched. She grabbed Junie and lunged for the office door. Gunfire exploded behind them as Ronan engaged Moretti and his men, buying them time. Inside the office, Marisol locked the door and rushed to the bookcase, searching desperately for the hidden release Ronan had mentioned. "Help me find it, Junie," she whispered. Junie pointed to a small bronze figure. "That one. Daddy showed me once." Marisol twisted it, and the bookcase slid aside, revealing a narrow passage. "Go, go," she urged Junie forward. The door behind them splintered under heavy blows. Marisol pushed Junie into the passage. "Run to the end. Don't stop." "But Daddy, I'll get him, go." As Junie disappeared into the darkness, Marisol grabbed a letter opener from Ronan's desk. A pathetic weapon, but better than nothing. The office door burst open. But it wasn't Ronan who entered. Serafina stood in the doorway, flanked by 2 armed men. Her blonde hair was windswept, her smile triumphant. "Where is she?" Serafina demanded, eyes scanning the room. Marisol backed toward the passage. "Gone." Serafina's eyes narrowed. "I don't believe you." She nodded to her men, who moved to search the room. "Ronan can't protect her anymore," Serafina said coolly. "He's a bit, occupied at the moment." Fear clawed at Marisol's throat. "What did you do?" "Nothing permanent. Yet." Serafina stepped closer. "Crane wants him alive. For now." One of the men discovered the passage. "Boss, there's a way out." Marisol lunged, slashing with the letter opener, catching Serafina across the arm. Serafina hissed in pain, then backhanded Marisol with enough force to send her sprawling. "Find the girl," she ordered her men. "Crane wants her as insurance." As the men disappeared into the passage, Serafina leaned over Marisol, pressing a stiletto heel against her throat. "You could have stayed in your place," she said softly. "Been the good little maid. Now you'll die with the rest of them." A gunshot echoed from the hallway, followed by heavy footsteps. Serafina's smile widened. That would be Mr. Crane. "I come to collect his property." She pulled Marisol up by her hair. "Let's not keep him waiting." From deeper in the house came a sound that froze Marisol's blood. Junie's scream, high and terrified. They had caught her. Somewhere in the chaos, Ronan was fighting for his life. And now his daughter, the only thing he truly loved, was in the hands of his enemies. And it was all because of the evidence that Marisol's brother had hidden. Evidence she had unknowingly led them straight to. Blood stained the marble floors of the Vescari mansion as Marisol regained consciousness. Her head throbbed where Serafina had struck her. She tried to sit up, panic rising as she remembered Junie's scream. "Don't move!" a rough voice commanded. Ronan knelt beside her, pressing a cold cloth to her temple. His shirt was torn, a fresh blood seeping through his bandaged shoulder. His eyes burned with a cold fury she'd never seen before. "Junie," Marisol whispered. "They took her." "I know." His voice was barely controlled. Crane's men came prepared. They knew every security measure, every exit. Marisol struggled to her feet. "We have to find her." "We?" Ronan's laugh was hollow. "You expect me to trust you now? Your brother's evidence is why they took my daughter." Marisol flinched. "I didn't know what Matteo had hidden, I swear." "But you knew it was dangerous enough to get you killed." Ronan turned away, staring at the evidence they'd recovered, the envelope and flash drive now sitting on his desk. "Dangerous enough to get my daughter taken." The room fell silent except for the distant wail of approaching sirens. "We have 10 minutes before the police arrive," Ronan said, pocketing the evidence. "My lawyers will handle them. Meanwhile, I'm going after Crane." "I'm coming with you." Marisol stepped forward. "Why would I let you?" Ronan's eyes were cold. "Because I know Crane better than you do." Marisol held his gaze. "I watched my brother work for that man for years. I know how he thinks, where he might take Junie." "And why would you help?" Marisol's voice broke. "Because I love her too." Something shifted in Ronan's expression, a crack in the armor. "If anything happens to her," his voice caught, "I know." Marisol moved closer, close enough to see the fear behind his rage. "She's your redemption." Ronan looked at her sharply. What? That's how you see her, isn't it? The one pure thing in your life? Ronan's jaw tightened. He turned to his remaining men, giving orders in a low voice. When they left, he faced Marisol again. "One chance," he said. "One chance to prove you're on my side." Marisol nodded. "Whatever it takes." Ronan pulled out his phone, showing her a message that had arrived minutes earlier. A photo of Junie, tear-stained but unharmed, holding today's newspaper. Below it, an address and instructions. "Crane wants to meet, just me, with the evidence." Ronan's voice was tight. "In exchange for Junie." "It's a trap," Marisol said immediately. "Of course it is." Ronan checked his gun. "But I don't have a choice." "Yes, you do." Marisol took a deep breath. "We go together. I can get us inside." "How?" "Serafina doesn't know everything about me." Marisol's eyes hardened. "Before he disappeared, Matteo gave me emergency contacts, people who owed him. One of them works for Crane." Ronan studied her face, searching for deception. Finding none, he nodded once. "If you betray me." "I won't." Marisol reached for his hand, surprised when he didn't pull away. "Junie deserves to grow up with her father." Ronan looked down at their joined hands, then back to her face. "And what do you deserve, Marisol Dane?" The question hung between them, unexpected and heavy with meaning neither was ready to face. Outside, car doors slammed as the police arrived. "We need to go," Ronan said, still holding her hand. "Now." As they slipped out through a hidden exit, Marisol realized they had crossed a line. No longer employer and employee, not quite allies. Something more complicated, bound by Junie, by danger, and by secrets neither had fully revealed. The waterfront district reeked of salt and rust. Abandoned warehouses loomed against the night sky as Ronan's car glided to a stop 2 blocks from Crane's hideout. "The Hotel Mariner," Marisol whispered. "It used to be beautiful. Now it's just another place Crane uses to launder money." Ronan checked the flash drive they'd found, his expression grim. "There are financial records here dating back 5 years. Names of officials on Crane's payroll. Enough to destroy him." "That's why Matteo took it." Marisol stared at the dilapidated hotel. "And why Crane wants it back badly enough to take Junie." Ronan's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "It's Lorenzo," Marisol explained. "Matteo's contact inside Crane's organization." Ronan opened the message. "West service entrance clear for 3 minutes. 8th floor, room 812. Girl guarded by 2 men plus Serafina." "Mark, can we trust him?" Ronan asked. "He owes Matteo his life." Marisol checked her watch. "We have 20 minutes until your meeting with Crane." Ronan nodded to his 3 most trusted men, positioned in vehicles nearby. "On my signal, they create a distraction at the front entrance." "Wait." Marisol touched his arm. "There's something else. Matteo wouldn't have put all the evidence in one place." Ronan's eyes narrowed. "What are you saying?" "The envelope we found, I recognized it. It's Matteo's handwriting." Marisol took a shaky breath. "He always split important information. Insurance." "So there's more evidence somewhere," Ronan said slowly. "Yes, and I think I know where." Marisol met his eyes. Eleanor's necklace, the one Serafina took from Junie. Understanding dawned on Ronan's face. A storage device. Matteo was good with technology. He could hide data in anything. Marisol swallowed hard. Elena must have been helping him. Pain flashed across Ronan's features. "She never told me." "She was protecting you," Marisol said softly. "Like you're protecting Junie." Ronan turned away, but not before Marisol caught a glimpse of raw grief in his eyes. "This changes things," he said, voice rough. "We need both the necklace and the flash drive to have complete leverage." Marisol nodded. "I'll go for Junie. You deal with Crane." Ronan turned back, eyes hard. "No, too dangerous." "Junie trusts me," Marisol insisted. "And Serafina will be watching for you, not me." Before he could argue, his phone rang. Crane's number. "Time's up," Crane's voice came through the speaker. "I know you're outside, Vescari. Stop planning and start walking, alone. Or your daughter pays the price." The line went dead. He has eyes on us, Ronan said grimly. A text message followed immediately. Betrayed. Service entrance. Compromised. Find new way. Ronan's expression darkened. Someone inside my organization is feeding him information. Who? Marisol asked, scanning the men positioned nearby. I don't know. Ronan's voice was deadly quiet. But I will. He studied the hotel's exterior, mind working. We need a new plan. The old laundry chute, Marisol suggested. It goes up to the 7th floor. Lorenzo mentioned it once. Ronan raised an eyebrow. You never mentioned you knew this hotel. There's a lot I haven't told you. Marisol met his gaze. But I'm telling you now. A moment of silence stretched between them. When this is over, Ronan said finally. No more secrets. It wasn't a question. No more secrets, Marisol agreed. Ronan contacted his men, giving new instructions. As they prepared to move, he turned to Marisol one last time. Why are you really helping me? His voice was low. The truth. Marisol hesitated, then answered, because Junie deserves her father, and because you're not the monster they say you are. You don't know me, Ronan said quietly. I've worked in your house for a year, Marisol replied. I've seen how you look at Junie when you think no one's watching. I know enough. Something unspoken passed between them. An understanding, a connection deeper than either was ready to acknowledge. The moment broke when Ronan's phone lit up with an image, Junie, crying, with Serafina standing over her. Time to go, Ronan said, his expression hardening into something dangerous. As they moved toward the hotel, Marisol realized with sudden clarity that whatever happened tonight would change everything for Junie, for Ronan, and for her. And somewhere in the decrepit building ahead, a traitor was waiting. The laundry chute was narrower than Marisol remembered, rust flaking off as they climbed upward in near darkness. Ronan moved with surprising silence despite his injured shoulder, his focus absolute. 7th floor, Marisol whispered when they reached the exit. Junie should be 1 floor above us. Ronan paused, his face inches from hers in the cramped space. Remember the plan. I deal with Crane, you find Junie and get her out. And if Serafina's with her? Something cold flashed in his eyes. Then you do whatever it takes. The quiet authority in his voice sent a shiver down her spine. This was the man the streets feared, not the father who read Junie bedtime stories. They emerged into a dusty hallway. The once grand Hotel Mariner had decayed into a shell of peeling wallpaper and broken light fixtures. Perfect for a man like Crane, beautiful once, now hollowed out by greed. Signal's ready, Ronan murmured, checking his phone. Distraction in 3, 2... An explosion rocked the front of the building. Alarms blared. Footsteps pounded as Crane's men rushed toward the commotion. They moved quickly up the emergency stairs, guns drawn. 8th floor, room 812. Voices drifted through the door, a woman's sharp tone, a child's quiet sob. Ronan's face transformed, jaw tight, eyes lethal. He placed a small device against the lock and stepped back. The door blew open. Serafina spun around, her hand gripping Junie's arm. 2 guards reached for their weapons too late. Ronan's shots found both before they could fire. Daddy! Junie cried. Don't move! Serafina hissed, pressing a gun to Junie's head. I'll do it! Marisol edged along the wall while Serafina focused on Ronan. Let her go, Ronan said, his voice terrifyingly calm. This is between us, Serafina laughed. Nothing is just between us anymore. Crane wants what's his. Where is he? Ronan asked, eyes never leaving his daughter. Waiting for you, penthouse? Serafina's smile turned cruel. He said you'd try something heroic. Predictable. Marisol caught Junie's eye and gave a small nod. The child understood immediately. She went limp suddenly, dropping her weight. Serafina struggled to hold her up. That momentary distraction was all Marisol needed. She lunged, tackling Serafina sideways. The gun fired, the bullet hitting the ceiling as they crashed to the floor. Ronan pulled Junie away while Marisol grappled with Serafina, fighting for control of the weapon. Serafina's elbow connected with Marisol's jaw. You stupid maid! You could have stayed out of this! Not while you hurt her, Marisol gasped, twisting Serafina's wrist until the gun clattered away. Ronan secured the weapon, keeping Junie behind him. Enough. Serafina froze, seeing the cold fury in his eyes. Where's the necklace? Ronan demanded. Serafina's eyes widened slightly before she masked her surprise. What necklace? Elena's necklace, the one you stole from Junie. Crane has it, she admitted. Upstairs. The building shook with another explosion. The distraction was working. Take Junie, Ronan told Marisol. Get her out through the laundry chute. No, Marisol said firmly. We go together. The door burst open. Armed men flooded in, surrounding them, and behind them walked Darius Crane, tall, elegant, with a smile like a shark. Touching reunion, he said, clapping slowly. I almost hate to interrupt. His eyes found Marisol, recognition flaring. Well, well, Matteo Dane's little sister. I wondered when you'd show your face. Ronan's gaze snapped to Marisol, betrayal and confusion warring in his expression. Crane laughed. Oh, she didn't tell you. We've met before. Many times. While her brother worked for me, she was always nearby. That was a long time ago, Marisol said, voice shaking. Crane's smile widened. Not long enough for me to forget why you're really here. Silence filled the room like poison gas. Junie clung to Ronan's side while Crane's men kept their weapons trained on them. You still haven't figured it out? Crane looked at Ronan with mock pity. She didn't come to your house by accident. She came to find what her brother hid. I know that part, Ronan said coldly. But do you know the rest? Crane stepped closer. Tell him, Marisol. Tell him how you almost joined my organization yourself. How you helped Matteo steal from me. Marisol's heart hammered. That's not true. No? Crane reached into his pocket and removed Elena's necklace, a delicate silver pendant with a small blue stone. Then how did you know about this? About what's inside? Ronan's eyes were fixed on the necklace, pain flashing across his face at this piece of his dead wife. I didn't know until today, Marisol insisted. Or liar. Crane held the necklace up to the light. Your brother was clever, hiding the most damaging evidence in plain sight, in the home of Ronan Vescari, the one place I couldn't easily reach. Ronan took a step forward. Give me back my wife's necklace. Your wife? Crane's smile turned cruel. Do you want to tell him about Elena, Marisol? Or shall I? Don't listen to him, Marisol told Ronan desperately. Elena was helping Matteo gather evidence against me, Crane continued. They worked together for months, quite closely from what I heard. Ronan's expression hardened. You're lying. Am I? Crane looked to Serafina, who had risen from the floor. Tell him. Serafina straightened her clothes. It's true. Elena met with Matteo Dane multiple times before she died. That's why I was looking through her things, searching for evidence of their connection. Marisol saw the pain flash across Ronan's face. Ronan, I didn't know about Elena, I swear. Touching, Crane mocked. But ultimately irrelevant. I want the flash drive. Now. Ronan's hand went to his pocket where the evidence was hidden. His eyes met Marisol's, questioning, wounded. Junie suddenly spoke up, her small voice steady despite her fear. The necklace is mine. My mommy gave it to me. Crane looked down at her with cold amusement. Did she now? And did she tell you what was inside? It has pictures, Junie said. Special ones only Daddy should see. Everyone stared at the child. Marisol realized with a jolt, Junie knew. Somehow Elena had told her daughter about the necklace's secret. Enough games, Crane snapped. The flash drive. Or Vescari. Or your daughter dies first, then you're Maid. Ronan's expression changed, the doubt vanishing, replaced by deadly focus. Let them go, he said, voice low, and I'll give you everything. Daddy, no, Junie cried. Marisol stepped forward. Ronan, you can't trust him. I don't, Ronan said simply. He looked at Marisol, something unreadable in his eyes. But I trust you with my daughter. The words hit Marisol like a physical blow. After everything Crane had revealed, Ronan still trusted her with what mattered most. How touching, Crane sneered. But I'm afraid I need insurance. He nodded to his men. Take the girl. As a guard moved toward Junie, Marisol's protective instincts surged. She threw herself between them. You'll have to go through me first. In that moment, standing between danger and a child she'd grown to love, Marisol knew her priorities had changed. This wasn't about Mateo's evidence anymore. It wasn't even about her own survival. It was about protecting a family that had somehow become hers. The room went still as Marisol stood between Junie and Crane's men. Her heart hammered against her ribs, but her voice remained steady. You'll have to go through me first. Crane laughed, the sound echoing off the peeling walls. Loyalty. How unexpected from a Dane. It's not about loyalty, Marisol said. It's about doing what's right. Ronan moved forward, placing himself beside Marisol. The silent message was clear. They would protect Junie together. The flash drive, Crane demanded again, holding out his hand. Now! Ronan's eyes never left Crane's face. Oh, the necklace first. You're not in a position to negotiate. Neither are you, Ronan replied coolly. You think I came here without insurance? My men are downstairs. The moment they don't hear from me, they send everything we have to the FBI, the CIA, and every news outlet in the country. Doubt flickered across Crane's face. He's bluffing, Serafina hissed. Am I? Ronan smiled, cold and dangerous. You lived in my house, Serafina. You should know better. Tension crackled in the air. Marisol felt Junie trembling against her side and squeezed the child's hand gently. Crane studied Ronan, then nodded slightly. A trade, then. The necklace for the flash drive. Simultaneously. And my daughter walks out of here with Marisol, Ronan added. That's non-negotiable. Your daughter, yes? Crane agreed. But Ms. Dane stays. We have unfinished business, Ronan's jaw tightened. All three of us leave. Daddy, Junie whispered, tugging his sleeve. The necklace has pictures of Mommy. Ronan looked down at his daughter, understanding passing between them. Then he met Marisol's eyes, a silent question in his gaze. Marisol gave the smallest nod. She knew what had to happen. Fine, Ronan told Crane. The trade first. Then Junie leaves with your word that she won't be followed. And you and the maid. We finish our conversation. Crane smiled, satisfied with his apparent victory. Agreed. He nodded to one of his men, who stepped forward with the necklace held out. At the same time, Ronan reached into his pocket for the flash drive. The exchange was made in tense silence. Ronan immediately handed the necklace to Junie. Hold on to this for me. Sweetheart. The little girl clutched it tightly. Now go with Marisol, Ronan instructed. Remember our safe word if anything happens. But Daddy, I'll be right behind you, he promised. Marisol took Junie's hand, heart breaking at the lie she heard in Ronan's voice. He was staying behind to buy them time, possibly at the cost of his own life. This way, she said gently, guiding Junie toward the door. Crane's men parted, allowing them passage. As they reached the doorway, Marisol turned back one last time. Ronan stood tall despite his injuries, facing Crane with the quiet dignity of a man prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice. For a moment his eyes met hers, and the emotion she saw there stole her breath. Then Junie pulled her into the hallway and they were running. Behind them, Crane's voice drifted out. Now, Vescari. Let's discuss what happens to men who cross me. Marisol led Junie down the emergency stairs, the child's small legs moving as fast as they could. They reached the 7th floor when a thunderous crash echoed from above, followed by shouting and gunfire. Daddy! Junie cried, trying to turn back. No! Marisol held her firmly. He wants you safe. More gunfire, closer now. Footsteps pounding down the stairs above them. They reached the laundry chute, their escape route, when the door above burst open. Serafina appeared, gun raised, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. Going somewhere, she snarled. Marisol pushed Junie behind her. Run to the elevator, now! But, go! As Junie fled, Marisol faced Serafina alone. You just don't quit, do you? Serafina hissed, advancing slowly. Not when it matters, Marisol replied. Serafina's finger tightened on the trigger. Say hello to Mateo for me. The gunshot never came. Instead, the stairwell door flew open again, and men in tactical gear poured in, weapons raised. FBI, drop your weapon! Serafina's eyes widened in shock as she was surrounded. And behind the agents, Ronan appeared, bloodied but alive, his eyes searching frantically until they found Marisol. When their gazes locked, everything else seemed to fade away. He had chosen justice over vengeance. And somehow, against all odds, they had survived. You've made it this far in their journey. Can you really walk away now, not knowing what happens next? What will become of Ronan, Marisol and little Junie now that the FBI is involved? Comment where you're watching from. The most emotional part of this story is just beginning. Hit subscribe now, don't leave this family when they need you most. Chaos erupted as FBI agents swarmed the Hotel Mariner. Serafina was handcuffed and led away, her perfect composure finally shattered. Through the broken windows, Marisol could see more agents surrounding the building, lights flashing against the night sky. Ronan pulled Junie into his arms, holding her tight, his eyes never left Marisol. "You're hurt," she said, noticing fresh blood on his shirt. "I'll live." His voice was rough. "Did she hurt you?" Marisol shook her head. "How did the FB—" "I called them," Ronan admitted. "Before we came in." Shock rippled through her. "You called the federal authorities? On yourself?" "On Crane. I made a deal." Ronan's expression was unreadable. "They get Crane, his network, and most of the evidence. In exchange, Junie stays safe. It and certain aspects of my business remain off the record." A stern-faced agent approached them. "Mr. Vescari, we need to talk." "In a moment," Ronan replied without turning. "Now," the agent insisted. "You're still a person of interest in this investigation." Ronan finally looked away from Marisol. "I've given you Darius Crane and evidence of corruption reaching into 3 state governments. I've fulfilled my part." The agent frowned. "The deal was for your full cooperation." "And you'll have it," Ronan assured him. "But first, my daughter needs medical attention." The agent glanced at Junie, his expression softening slightly. 5 minutes. When he stepped away, Ronan turned to Marisol. "We need to leave." "The FBI is everywhere," she whispered. "Not everywhere." Ronan nodded toward a service door. "My men secured an exit route." "But we need to move now." Marisol hesitated. "If we run—" "If we stay, they'll separate us," Ronan said quietly. "They'll take Junie into protective custody. They'll question you about Matteo for days." The reality sank in. Despite Ronan's deal, they were all still connected to organized crime. The FBI wouldn't simply let them walk away. "Where would we go?" Marisol asked. "Somewhere safe," Ronan promised. "I've prepared for this possibility." Junie looked up at Marisol, her small hand reaching out. "Come with us, Mari. Please." In that moment, facing the choice between safety with authorities or danger with Ronan and Junie, Marisol realized there was no choice at all. She took Junie's hand. "Let's go." They slipped through the service door while the FBI focused on securing Crane and processing the scene. One of Ronan's men met them in the alley, leading them to a nondescript car parked 2 blocks away. As they drove through the rain-slicked streets, Marisol felt the weight of the night's events settling on her shoulders. She had betrayed Crane, potentially endangered her missing brother, and tied her fate to a Mafia boss, all in the span of hours. Yet, watching Ronan with his daughter, his gentle hands checking her for injuries, his voice soft as he reassured her, Marisol couldn't bring herself to regret any of it. "Where are we going?" she finally asked as the city lights faded behind them. "A safe house," Ronan answered. "Off the grid. We'll be there by morning." Junie had fallen asleep between them, her head resting against Marisol's arm, the precious necklace still clutched in her small hand. "The evidence," Marisol said suddenly. "Did the FBI get all of it?" Ronan's eyes met hers in the dim light. "Not all of it." Understanding passed between them. He had kept something back, insurance against both Crane and the authorities. "What happens now?" Marisol asked softly. "To us?" Ronan was silent for a long moment, his face half in shadow. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, stripped of the cold authority she was used to, revealing something raw underneath. "That depends," he said, "on whether you want there to be an us." Before she could answer, Junie stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Mari," she mumbled sleepily. "I'm here," Marisol assured her. "Are you going to stay with us forever now?" The question hung in the air, innocent yet weighted with all the complexity of their situation. Marisol felt Ronan's eyes on her, waiting. "I'll stay as long as you need me," she promised. Junie smiled, satisfied, and drifted back to sleep. But it was Ronan's expression, the mixture of hope, fear, and something deeper, that made Marisol's heart ache. They had escaped the immediate danger, but the road ahead remained uncertain. One thing was clear, though. Something had changed between them tonight, something neither could ignore any longer. Dawn broke over pine trees as the car wound up a narrow mountain road. Marisol watched the world awaken through exhausted eyes, her body aching from the night's violence. Beside her, Junie slept against Ronan's chest, small fingers still clutched around her mother's necklace. The safe house appeared suddenly, a modern cabin nestled among the trees, its windows reflecting the golden morning light. Not the rough hideout Marisol had expected, but a home. "We're here," Ronan said softly, careful not to wake Junie. Inside, the cabin revealed Ronan's attention to detail: fully stocked kitchen, medical supplies, clean clothes in various sizes. A place prepared for emergencies, yet comfortable enough to feel like sanctuary. "You can take the bedroom down the hall," Ronan said, carrying Junie to a small room decorated with colourful stars on the ceiling. "I'll sleep on the couch." Marisol watched him gently tuck his daughter in, brushing hair from her forehead with a tenderness that made her throat tighten. "You need medical attention," she reminded him, eyeing the blood-stained bandage on his shoulder. In the kitchen, Marisol cleaned and redressed his wound. Her fingers worked carefully, aware of each wince he tried to hide. "Why did you do it?" she asked finally. "Call the FBI. Risk everything." Ronan's eyes met hers. "For Junie. She deserves better than my world. You could have killed Crane. Ended it your way." "That was the old way," Ronan admitted. "I'm trying to find a new one." The confession hung between them, vulnerable, honest. Marisol finished the bandage but didn't move away. "Thank you for trusting me, with Junie, with this." His hand caught hers, warm and steady. "You earned it." A scream shattered the moment. They rushed to Junie's room to find her thrashing in bed, eyes wide with terror. "She's coming back," Junie cried. "Serafina's coming back." Ronan gathered her close. "It was just a dream. You're safe." "She said she'd find us," Junie sobbed. "She promised." Marisol joined them on the bed, forming a protective circle around the child. "We won't let her hurt you again. Either of us." Eventually, Junie's tears subsided, but she refused to sleep alone. They moved to the living room, creating a makeshift nest of blankets before the fireplace. Junie drifted off between them, finally peaceful. "She'll need time," Marisol whispered over Junie's sleeping form. "Time we might not have," Ronan replied grimly. He passed her his phone, showing a bank notification. Marisol read it twice, disbelieving. "She emptied your accounts? All of them?" "The offshore ones. Nearly 40 million. His face was tight with fury. "Serafina's been planning this for months." "But the FBI has her in custody." "For now." Ronan's expression darkened. "Money buys freedom in this country, even from federal charges." Marisol looked down at Junie, then back to Ronan. In the firelight, and with exhaustion lowering his guard, she could see the weight he carried, the constant vigilance, the responsibility. "What will you do?" she asked. His eyes met hers across his sleeping daughter. "What? I have to." But there was a question in his gaze, one he wouldn't voice aloud. "Will you stay?" Marisol reached across Junie, her hand finding his. The answer in her touch: "As long as they need me." 3 days passed in cautious peace. Junie's nightmares gradually subsided. Ronan's wound began to heal, and Marisol found herself settling into a routine that felt dangerously like family. Morning sunlight streamed through the cabin windows as Marisol helped Junie make pancakes. Laughter filled the kitchen, a sound that seemed impossible just days ago. The door opened and Ronan entered, his expression grim. He'd been outside making calls since dawn. "News?" Marisol asked, sending Junie to wash her hands. "Serafina's gone." Ronan's voice was flat. "Released on bail yesterday, disappeared immediately." Marisol's stomach dropped. "How is that possible?" "Money. Connections." Ronan ran a hand through his hair. "Crane may be finished, but his network isn't." "What about the evidence? The FBI has it." "Parts of it." Ronan glanced toward Junie's room. "We still have the necklace." They'd been avoiding the subject, the hidden data in Elena's necklace. The final piece of the puzzle. "We need to know what's on it," Marisol said. Ronan nodded. "I have someone coming, someone I trust completely." 2 hours later, a helicopter landed in the clearing behind the cabin. A man emerged, tall, silver-haired, carrying a metal briefcase. "Judge Harmon," Ronan greeted him. Marisol blinked in surprise. The man was indeed Judge William Harmon, respected federal judge, known for his anti-corruption stance. "Brought what you needed," the judge said, shaking Ronan's hand. His eyes landed on Marisol. "This must be Ms. Dane." Inside, while Junie napped, they gathered around the kitchen table. The judge opened his briefcase, revealing sophisticated equipment. "The pendant contains a microchip," he explained, examining Elena's necklace. "Ingenious design. Your wife was remarkable, Ronan." Pain flashed across Ronan's face at the mention of Elena. The judge connected the necklace to his equipment. Files appeared on his laptop screen, photographs, financial records, recorded conversations. "My God," he whispered. "This goes beyond Crane." They leaned forward, scanning the evidence. Names jumped out: politicians, judges, police commissioners. A network spanning multiple cities. "The Commission," the judge explained, "a shadow organization controlling crime families across the East Coast. They've been rumored for years, but never proven." Marisol's breath caught as a photograph appeared. Serafina shaking hands with a distinguished-looking man in a Senate pin. She's not just Crane's ally, Marisol realized. She's Commission. "An enforcer," the judge agreed, "sent to retrieve this evidence and eliminate anyone who knew about it." "Including Elena," Ronan said quietly. The implication hung heavy in the air. Elena's accident had never been random. "There's more," the judge said, opening another file. "Communications between Commission members. One mentions your brother, Ms. Dane." Marisol's heart stopped. "Matteo? What does it say?" "It suggests he's alive. Or working undercover." The room spun. Marisol gripped the table edge. "Undercover for whom?" "Federal intelligence based on these messages. Deep cover." Ronan's hand found Marisol's under the table, steadying her. "So he's alive," she whispered. "All this time. And the Commission knows it," the judge warned. "They're hunting him too." Ronan's phone buzzed with an alert from his security system. He checked it, then stood abruptly. "Someone's approaching the property." His voice was tight. "Armed." The judge packed his equipment. "I'll take the evidence. Get your family out." Ronan didn't correct the word family. As they moved to wake Junie, Marisol glimpsed figures through the trees, men in tactical gear moving with military precision. "They found us," she breathed. Ronan's expression hardened. "Not just anyone. Those are Commission enforcers." And somewhere among them, Marisol knew, was Serafina, coming to finish what she started. "Get down!" Ronan pushed Marisol to the floor as bullets shattered the cabin windows. Glass rained over them like deadly snow. Judge Harmon crouched behind the kitchen counter, Elena's necklace and evidence secure in his briefcase. "Back door," he shouted over the gunfire. "There's a tunnel entrance in the cellar." Ronan nodded. "Take Junie. We'll follow." Marisol grabbed his arm. "Together. We stay together." Something shifted in Ronan's eyes. Surprise, then determination. He nodded once. They crawled to Junie's room, finding her huddled under the bed, eyes wide with terror. "We need to move, sweetheart," Marisol whispered, pulling her out gently. "Like a game," Ronan added, his voice steady despite the chaos. Stay low. Stay quiet." The cellar door was hidden beneath a rug in the pantry. They descended into darkness as footsteps thundered above them. "This way." the judge urged, activating a small flashlight. The tunnel was narrow but tall enough to stand in, carved directly into the mountain. Ronan led the way, gun drawn, while Marisol carried Junie. "How did they find us?" she asked. "Someone talked," Ronan said grimly. "Someone close." The tunnel opened into a smaller cabin a quarter-mile away. Through the trees, Marisol glimpsed the judge's helicopter. "I need to get this evidence to Washington," Judge Harmon said, holding up the briefcase. "It's the only way to bring down the commission." "Go," Ronan agreed. "We'll head east in the SUV." The judge hesitated. "You know they won't stop, Ronan. Not until you're dead and the evidence is destroyed." "I know. Then you also know what you need to do." The judge's expression was solemn. "It's time to leave everything behind. New identities. New life." Ronan's jaw tightened. "My business. Is it worth your daughter's life?" The judge looked at Junie, then at Marisol. "Worth their lives?" Before Ronan could answer, his phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Mateo says Blue Heron. Commission compromised FBI. Trust no one." Marisol gasped. "Blue Heron. That was our coder's children." Ronan's expression darkened. "Then your brother is truly alive and trying to help us," she whispered, hope and fear warring in her chest. A crash echoed from the tunnel. The commission's enforcers had found the passage. "Go," Ronan told the judge. "Get that evidence out." As the helicopter lifted off, they ran for the SUV hidden behind the cabin. Bullets pinged against metal as they pulled away. Junie crouched on the floor, Marisol shielding her. "Where are we going?" Marisol asked, heart pounding as they sped down the mountain. "Somewhere they won't expect," Ronan replied, eyes fixed on the winding road. Miles later, when they were certain no one followed, Ronan pulled into an abandoned gas station. "I need to tell you something," he said, turning to face her. "About Eleanor." Marisol braced herself, knowing this moment was inevitable. "She was working with federal authorities," Ronan said quietly, "gathering evidence against me." "What?" Marisol hadn't expected this. She wanted out. Wanted a normal life for Junie. Pain flashed across his face. "When I discovered what she was doing, I was angry. We fought. The next day—" "The accident," Marisol whispered. Ronan nodded, his eyes haunted. "I always wondered if it was really an accident. Now we know." "The commission," Marisol realized. "They killed her because she was gathering evidence against them too." "Yes." Ronan's voice broke slightly. "And I never got to tell her I was ready to walk away. For her. For Junie." Junie stirred in the back seat, mumbling in her sleep. Marisol reached for Ronan's hand. "You're telling me now, and we have a chance to finish what she started." Ronan looked at her, really looked at her, and Marisol saw the walls around his heart crumbling. "I'm falling for you," he said simply, "and it terrifies me." Marisol's breath caught. "Or why?" "Because everyone I love becomes a target." His fingers tightened around hers. "And I can't lose anyone else." Night fell as they approached the coast, the ocean a black expanse beyond the cliffs. The abandoned lighthouse Ronan had chosen as their final stand loomed against the starry sky, isolated and defensible. "My men will meet us here," Ronan explained, carrying a sleeping Junie inside. "Loyal ones only." The lighthouse interior had been converted into a sparsely furnished safe house, another of Ronan's emergency preparations. "Rest," he told Marisol, after they'd settled Junie in the small bedroom. "Tomorrow will decide everything." But rest wouldn't come. Marisol found Ronan on the observation deck, staring out at the ocean. "You should be sleeping," he said without turning. "So should you." She moved beside him, at their shoulders almost touching. "I keep thinking about choices," Ronan said after a moment. "The ones Elena made, the ones I made, the ones we're making now." Marisol watched his profile, strong and troubled in the moonlight. "I was prepared to die protecting Junie," he continued. "That was simple. But this," he gestured between them, "complicates everything." "Because you care," Marisol said softly. "Because I care too much." His eyes met hers. "And it makes me vulnerable." the air between them charged with unspoken feelings. Marisol stepped closer. "Maybe vulnerability isn't weakness," she whispered. "Maybe it's courage." His hand rose to her face, thumb brushing her cheek. "I don't deserve this. You." "You don't get to decide what I deserve," Marisol answered, leaning into his touch. When their lips finally met, it felt like coming home, like finding something neither knew they were searching for. The moment shattered as headlights appeared on the distant road. "They're here," Ronan said, pulling away reluctantly, but it wasn't the commission. It was Ronan's men, 5 trusted lieutenants, heavily armed, led by his second-in-command, Marco. "Boss," Marco greeted him, "perimeter's secure. We've got eyes on all approaches." They gathered around a table reviewing defenses and escape routes. The plan was clear: hold position until Judge Harmon's contact arrived with new identities, then disappear forever. "What about your territory?" Marco asked. "Your business?" "Let it go," Ronan said simply. "It's over." The men exchanged glances, but no one questioned him. Dawn broke across the water when the warning came, vehicles approaching from the main road. "At least 12 men," Marco reported. "Heavily armed, tactical formation." Ronan's jaw tightened. "Get Junie to the boat. If anything happens, you leave. Immediately." Marisol touched his arm. "We're staying together." "Not this time." His eyes were resolute. "I need to end this. For all of us." Before she could argue, the first shots hit the lighthouse walls. The assault came from all sides, Commission enforcers moving with military precision. Ronan's men returned fire from fortified positions, buying time. Through the chaos, a familiar voice called out, "Ronan, send out the girl and the evidence, and maybe you'll live." Serafina. Marisol felt rage boil inside her. This woman had tormented Junie, betrayed Ronan, and now threatened the fragile happiness they'd found. "She wants me," Junie whispered, suddenly beside Marisol. She'd woken in the chaos. "No, sweetheart," Marisol pulled her close. "She wants to hurt your daddy." Gunfire intensified. One of Ronan's men fell, clutching his leg. "We're outnumbered," Marco warned. Ronan's expression hardened. "Get them to the boat. Now." "Daddy, no!" Junie cried as Marco lifted her. "I'll be right behind you," Ronan promised. The same lie he'd told before. Marisol refused to move. "I'm staying." "Marisol!" "No." Her voice was steel. "You don't face this alone." Something broke in Ronan's expression. Relief, fear, love. "Marco, take Junie," he ordered. "We'll cover you." As Marco carried a struggling Junie toward the hidden dock, Ronan and Marisol faced the front entrance together. The door burst open. Serafina stood there, blood spattered across her designer suit, gun raised. "How touching," she sneered. "Hey, the boss and his maid, ready to die together." Ronan's gun was steady. "It's over, Serafina. The evidence is already in Washington." "Doesn't matter," she smiled coldly. "The commission has people everywhere, even in Washington." "Not anymore," Marisol said. "You lost." Serafina's eyes narrowed. "Your brother thought the same thing before we caught him." Marisol's blood froze. "You're lying." "Am I?" Serafina reached into her pocket, tossing a bloodied wallet onto the floor. Matteo's ID stared up at them. Ronan sensed Marisol's shock, stepping slightly in front of her. "You won't leave here alive." "Neither will you." Serafina's finger tightened on the trigger. 3 shots rang out, but it wasn't Serafina who fired. From the side entrance, a figure emerged, bloodied, limping, but very much alive. "Hello, sister," Matteo Dane said. Her gun still raised as Serafina collapsed. Marisol's world tilted on its axis. "You're alive," she whispered. "Barely." Matteo grimaced, clutching his side where blood seeped through his shirt. "We need to go. Now. The rest of her team is right behind me." Ronan supported Matteo as they hurried toward the dock. Behind them, the lighthouse erupted in gunfire as the remaining commission enforcers swarmed in. They reached the boat where Junie waited, eyes wide with fear and hope. "Daddy!" she cried, throwing herself into his arms. As they pulled away from shore, the lighthouse exploded in flames, Marco's final gift, eliminating any evidence of their presence. Matteo collapsed onto the deck, breathing heavily. "Did you get the necklace data to Harmon?" Yes, Ronan confirmed. Is it enough? It will be. Matteo's eyes met his sister's. The commission's days are numbered. Marisol knelt beside her brother, joy and disbelief warring within her. I thought you were dead. Had to disappear, he said weakly, to protect you. Some protection, she smiled through tears. I ended up in a Mafia war anyway. Matteo's eyes shifted to Ronan, who stood with Junie in his arms. Seems like you found protection elsewhere. As the boat cut through the waves, carrying them toward a future none had dared imagine, Ronan moved to Marisol's side. His free arm slipped around her waist, pulling her close. Still terrified? She asked quietly. He looked at her, then at Junie, then at the open sea ahead. Yes, he admitted, but for the first time, I'm not afraid to live. 6 months passed like a dream. The seaside villa in Greece overlooked crystal waters so blue they seemed painted. Junie's laughter, once lost, now filled every room as she chased gulls along the private beach below. Marisol watched from the terrace, coffee warm in her hands, still amazed by how completely their lives had transformed. Sometimes she caught herself expecting to wake up back in the Vescari mansion, the nightmare of Serafina and the commission still looming. But this was real. Their new life. Their second chance. Still can't believe it? Ronan asked, joining her at the railing. The morning sun caught the gold of his wedding band, 3 months new and still surprising on his hand. Sometimes, she admitted, especially when I see how happy she is. They both looked toward Junie, who knelt examining shells with focused delight. The nightmares have stopped, Ronan said quietly, for both of us. Marisol turned to him. He's studying the changes time had carved. The hardness in his eyes had softened, though vigilance remained. It always would. His businesses now ran legitimately, overseen from afar, investments redirected toward rebuilding what the commission had destroyed in so many communities. News from Washington, she asked. Judge Harmon called this morning. 3 more commission leaders arrested. The network's falling apart. His hand covered hers. Elena would be proud. The mention of his first wife no longer brought pain, only a quiet acknowledgement of the past that had shaped them all. And Matteo? Marisol asked, still adjusting to her brother's resurrection. Meeting us tonight. He finished his debriefing with intelligence. Matteo's recovery had been slow, both physically and emotionally. Years undercover had changed him, hardened him in ways that reminded Marisol of Ronan when they first met. Footsteps approached from behind. Lunch is ready, Sophia called, their housekeeper and the only staff they'd brought to Greece. They gathered around the sun-drenched table, a family stitched together by trauma and love. Junie told animated stories about fish she'd seen, her small hands gesturing wildly. Mari, can we make the seashell necklace today? She asked between bites. Of course, sweetheart, Ronan's phone buzzed. A secure message. His expression remained neutral, but Marisol caught the slight tension in his shoulders. Everything okay? She asked when Junie ran inside for her shells. Marco found surveillance footage at our old safe house in Italy. Ronan showed her the image, a woman with blonde hair watching the property from a distance. Some could be nothing. Or Serafina survived, Marisol finished. The official report claimed Serafina had died in the lighthouse explosion, but no body had been recovered. I'll increase security, Ronan said, quietly. Should we move again? Ronan looked toward the house where Junie had reappeared, shells clutched in her small hands. No, he said firmly. We stop running. This is our home now. That night, after Junie was asleep, they sat on the moonlit terrace with Matteo. The brothers-in-law had developed an unlikely respect, former enemies united by shared purpose. The commission isn't completely finished, Matteo warned, nursing a glass of bourbon. They're wounded, not dead. Neither are we, Ronan replied. Marisol looked between the two men, both protectors, both killers, both fighting for redemption in their own ways. What happens if they find us? She asked. Ronan's hand found hers. Then we face it together. All of us. As a family, Matteo added, surprising them both. Later, when they were alone, Marisol found Ronan standing by Junie's bedroom door, watching his daughter sleep. Having second thoughts? She asked softly. He turned to her, eyes clear and certain. No. For the first time, I'm exactly where I should be. He drew her close, his kiss gentle but filled with promise. I used to think men like me didn't get happy endings, he whispered against her hair. Maybe it's not an ending, Marisol replied. Just a different kind of beginning. Outside, security cameras silently scanned the property, catching nothing but shadows. But somewhere in the darkness beyond their peaceful home, old enemies were regrouping. The commission wouldn't forget, and Serafina wouldn't forgive. For now, though, they were safe. They were together. And that was enough. Don't leave them now. Their story might seem complete, but the danger lurking in the shadows is far from over. Will Serafina return for revenge? Can Ronan truly leave his past behind? What new challenges will test the family they've built? You've witnessed their journey from enemies to lovers, from danger to safety. But safety is always temporary in their world. Subscribe now and comment below on what you think awaits the Vescari family. This isn't just their story anymore, it's yours too. Will you stay with them when the shadows return?